Hiya, so hopefully you've seen the first video where we went through the Boss Micro 80 multi-tracking basics and how to multi-track a song, put a few different layers together. This time we're looking into the drum machine. I did have a drum machine playing on that one, but I didn't explain how we go about composing the song out of the various patterns and figures. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to do a drum machine video in two parts, part one and part two. Part two is going to be a bit more advanced. Part one, we're just going to have a look at the various sounds and the elements that go together to make up a song. And in part two, we'll actually put a short song together. Okay, hope you enjoy this. If you're into the sort of music, the sort of modern sort of techno dance music and automated rhythms and stuff like that, going back to the 80s, Depeche Mode and Kraftwerk, things like that, this may not be for you. This is more for old dinosaurs like me who are into the old school sort of 60s and 70s and 80s rock, pop and soul. With like real guitars and basses and stuff like that, keyboards, and we want to simulate that effect you get with a real drummer, that sort of life that's injected into a song. A lot of people are a bit sceptical about drum machines, think that there's no way you can replace a real drummer, which is true in a way, but this is so practical, certainly if you're like me and basically working on your own rather than in a band. Okay, let's see how we get on. So it's ready switched on. That's the basic home screen you get. If I switch rhythm on, it brings up a bit of a sort of what do you call, I don't know, storyboard or a timeline. This top line is broken down into bars. As you can see, it's counted out there, increments 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, so on. And I normally start, the default first pattern is going to be a break, so that's why it says break there. If you notice the lower part of the screen, here it says type. Now the types you get, that's basically the element. A break, which like I say is the default pattern you get. A break is silence, it's just like a dead count to the length of a bar or beat. If I scroll around with the wheel, it'll give me, so scroll backwards, metronome, which basically you can record the whole song on a metronome to get the speed and timing right and then break it down into drum patterns. I tend not to bother, I tend to find a pattern and go with that. Each to their own. That's an ending, which is pretty self-explanatory. This is a fill, which is something used to break up the rhythm a bit, maybe introduce a new phase of the song where you're going into a different part of the verse or from a verse to a chorus or whatever. A verse needs no explanation, that's your basic sort of beat, that the dominant beat that's going to carry your song along. So we'll go for an intro to start us off. Right, now the next down on the table is pattern. This is your options out of your verse, fill, endings, intros and so on. So that's what we can do with that. The length is the number of beats you're going to count out. Now the default is 1. You can increase that by turning the wheel. You see that line on the sort of storyboard going forward as I do so. That tells you where you're up to with a given pattern in the song. And the tempo is the speed. This is 140. I've adjusted it to that. I can take it wherever I want and go back down to 120 or as slow as I want. That controls the speed of the pattern. Okay, so to actually play a pattern, you can have a listen without committing yourself to recording it, and just press the rhythm. So let's get up there and get to the, instead of intros, we'll go for a verse, and we'll have a listen to the various types of verse you can get. So press rhythm, and then it starts thumping away for you. Changes because I'm going from one pattern to another here, so I find something I like. You can do the same thing with this sort of demo facility for either a verse or a fill or an ending or an intro. Let's just stop that by pressing stop. So that's how the selection of patterns works. The length, as I say here, that's 8 bars. I can increase that by selecting it and then rolling the wheel round as many as possible. What I tend to do, I'll start off with an intro and then a verse, and I'll put a ridiculous number of bars in, something like 60. And play the entire song, and then shorten up that bar to make it fit into the sort of increments I want. We'll do a bit more about that on part 2. Quick look, if I press enter, gives me another table of options. Delete, insert, kit or SMF. That SMF is for importing rhythms from elsewhere, which obviously is not the subject of this video. So we'll go back to kit there, and this is the sound of the kit you get. So if I enter, it gives me the kit we're on now, which is standard 1, which you've just been listening to. If I go to standard 2, it's a slightly sort of softer one. Room, a sort of bouncy, close reverb sound on the snare, a bit sort of 1950s rockabilly. Hard, sort of heavy metal basically, a very aggressive snare drum sound. Jazz, very mellow, quite nice for quieter stuff. Not just for jazz, for blues and all sorts, and it works quite well with acoustic songs I've found as well. Hip hop, not really my cup of tea, a little bit sort of drum machine-y. House, ditto. Reggae, quite a nice one. You've got a nice bouncy snare drum. Let's just have a listen to that. So that's now set up for reggae. Listen to that. Which I quite like. So that's your option of the sounds. Part 2, we're going to be looking at how to actually build up a song out of patterns, fitting in the fills and breaks and endings, intros, things like that, and different verse patterns. Okay, so I'll see you in part 2. Take care.